All right, look, check this out, YouTube. So, an actual credible source reacted to my UFC video, and I talked about the new patch, and this is somebody that actually knows what they're talking about. I ain't gonna say too much detail, just know, like, they know what they talking about. Let's just say that much. All right, this is an hour-long video. I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to get through all of this with this video because I don't want it to be dragged, but here we go.
So it's obvious that I don't play this game and I don't upload the content because I don't enjoy playing it. But I do watch other content creators, and one of the ones I watch is the homie Pryoxis. He puts out what I consider quality content, and he tries his best to speak to the game's inadequacies and also give it credit where it's due, and tries to help to bolster a good conversational dialogue between development and player experience from the perspective of a player who considers himself a pro, someone who has banked his whole entire career off being good at it, and then use that to basically levitate into this content creator space and become just a full-line content creator who can entertain as well as compete.
Facts.
Like that said, he put out a video talking about this new patch, which, like I said, I don't play this game, so I periodically poke my nose around and sniff around just to see what I can sniff out as far as like the quality of the content and then what's being updated in the game and how it actually relates to the game being good. Because one day somebody's going to speak with a loud enough voice and a clear enough narrative, and the game will actually become a good game. It's just a matter of time, right? I mean, it's inevitable. At some point, someone's going to figure out what it is that makes this game awful, and they're going to be able to speak to that. But let's watch Pryoxis' video. I've already seen it. Not gonna lie to you, I've already kind of gone through this process once already. I'll leave that as it is, but we'll watch this video, and I'm going to show you some of the things that he's talking about and give a uniquely different perspective on why these things are what they are.
Yo, what's going on YouTube, man? It's your boy Pryoxis. I'm back with another video. This is a video of the current state, man. So personally,
like I said, giving credit where credit's due.
As far as the stamina changes is that. So personally, I think the patch was a step in the right direction, if I'm being completely honest.
Like I said, giving credit where credit's due.
As far as the stamina change, they never listen to me give credit. They just see me say something and complain about something. They say, "Oh, you're crying, Pryoxis." Changes is definitely a W, but I kind of get the vibe of like the same exact thing that Undisputed is doing, where the stamina's changed, but the overall game mechanics and the problems are not. And it's something that Suave Jamie specifically, which is, I mean, one of the best players in the world easily, also stated on Twitter. Certain things aren't fixed as far as tracking. Certain things ain't fixed as far as the slipping strikes and people.
Okay, so while we're here, he talked about stamina, talked about tracking, he talked about the slipping strikes specifically. Let me speak to these things as best I can. The changes they're making to stamina are from a perspective of trying to mitigate the complaints around stamina, but not so much fixing stamina at its root. And then the thing about fixing stamina at its root is that I don't know how possible it is with how ingrained stamina is in the mechanics of the game. I don't think people fully understand that everything that happens in this game is tied to stamina in one way or the other. Whether or not it is how much damage you do versus how much damage you take. How fast your strike animations are, which to some middling degree don't really matter that much because it's not really that fast. Doesn't really change that much. But essentially, stamina is tied to everything. Right. So say they were to make a patch right today that just changed stamina largely, like how much stamina you consumed when doing this, how much stamina you consume while taking that. What would end up happening would be, is because stamina is so deeply ingrained in the game, one of two things is going to be true. The stamina is going to feel good and fighters are going to gas out organically, and you're going to feel like the things you did had consequence as well as reward. Or players are going to play the game really poorly, run out of stamina, and then complain that they can't finish their opponent because the damage side of stamina doesn't quite equate. You're not dealing enough damage and they're not taking enough damage because of differences in stamina, or because stamina is burning at a different rate. So stamina as a whole has this whole puzzling element to it because it's so deeply attached to damage and everything else. If stamina and damage were completely separate, you'd be able to tune and tweak and do whatever you want with stamina. You can up it, down it, move it around it, twist it, shake it, bake it in the kitchen. Like, you can do all kind of stuff.
Pause that though. Hey, pause that. Pause that.
But because stamina is not, I had to lower my mic because my mic was clipping a little bit, and I don't like that. Because damage and stamina are so baked into the cake because they're connected and interwoven and twisted backwards and forwards. It makes it super hard to tune it because you can overtune it and fights not be able to be ended because your fighter would gas so fast and not deal as much damage, and then the other fighter won't take as much because they'll be able to just kind of tank through your stuff, and it just becomes this whole thing. So they have to kind of poke and prod at it, and it is what it is. It just is what it is. You know, they just got to poke and prod at it until they figure out something that feels good to people. And this whole lowering the stamina regeneration bank at the end of the round, that's kind of like in the right direction. They incorporated that. I think it was like UFC 3 is when that became a huge thing where fighters had different amounts of stamina that they could recoup between rounds. People like Demetrius Johnson could come back after rounds 3 and 4 and be fully stamina. Him and like Nick Diaz and Nate Diaz would have basically a bank of stamina that they were getting back per round that was just larger than most people, and it became like this kind of like thing, which is cool. They announced it, they advertised it, they showed off. It's like they talked about it in development that this is a thing that they're doing, that these fighters have, you know, personality. That's cool, but it'd be cooler if people could see what they were working with. Like if you knew the pool of stamina you had to pull from, like hiding stuff on the back end. It doesn't work well in fighting games. Like having back end information hidden in fighting games is kind of dicey. Now it's a sports fighting game, and if you think of sports games like 2K and Madden, there's a lot of stuff that's like off screen. Like in 2K specifically, there's like tendencies and hot and cold, and there's a lot of stuff. And like NBA Live specifically, there's a lot of stuff like that. I know that from experience. It's a lot of stuff in Live that's on the back end, and it's the same thing with 2K. It's got a bunch of emerging gameplay, like gameplay that happens on the back end and stuff that you don't see that changes the way things are going. Like if you miss 3 shots with Curry, the rest of his team might kind of get bummed and be less likely to pass to him. The AI might be less likely to pass the ball to Curry because he's been missing, so he's cold. So the game will adapt around the fact that things are changing in the game. It works in sports games to some degree because it's kind of perceptive. Like you can kind of perceive why this is happening. But in this game, you don't know. You just don't know. And because you don't know, it's just back end shit that you don't see. Tracking was another thing he talked about. Tracking, I
want to hear what he say.
I urge anyone who wants to know how this game works to watch the GDC presentation that's on YouTube from Jeff Harrower, the creator and one of the developers of this game. He speaks at length on YouTube in a presentation of how IK works. I watched this presentation, and the best I can surmise for you is relative IK is a system that governs the way the game interacts with itself. So IK works like bullet points. Each point of the body has an IK location. That location is assigned to it, and it tells it where it should be. In grappling positions, if an IK point should touch a certain other IK point, like say your right hand is 0.1 and their hip is 0.17, in certain transitions, the relative IK will make 0.1 touch 0.17 at any cost. Then they have to add physics, volumes, and all this other back-end techie terms to keep the arms from collapsing into each other. But essentially, the game is being told, this should do this at this time right now. Go. You know, it's not like when you throw a punch in real life, how you just put your arm out there, and if the opponent's there, it hits him. If he's not, it doesn't. The game kind of works like you press the button to put your arm out there to throw a punch, but 0.1 is your fist, 0.5 is his head. It's got to get there regardless of anything. Evasion is like the barrier between that thing. Evasion tells the game, sure, IK says you should make contact, but evasion says you should miss. So that's the point of it. And part of the reason why some of the tracking feels kind of dicey in this game is just because there's not enough evasion to go around. Like, there's just not enough evasion. It doesn't last as long as it should. The fighters find each other too fast because the evasion, the wall, the veil that evasion adds, let's put it like that, the veil that it creates isn't long-lasting enough. What the heck happened here? Hey, you, stay connected. Mind your business. Anywho, the veil that evasion creates doesn't last long enough, so the tracking comes off kind of funky. And because, like I said, IK is telling the game, relative IK is telling the game where point one should be, and it's got to do it. It's got to get there. So that's why tracking feels kind of crazy. It's just not enough evasion. There's not enough situations where your character is evasive. There's not enough. Like if evasion was like your hitbox, it would be, it's just static. It should be a little bit more fluid. So yeah, I think part of tracking being kind of janky is because there's just not enough evasion. Like if you slip, you're evasive, but if you slip, you also run into vulnerability. So there's there's a lot going into it. What you also talked about was a slip hook. Slip hook seems like it teleports. Like the character just isn't close enough to hit you, but they hit you anyway. Let's go into game. Because I'm a psycho, I'm on the game on my PC because of Xbox. The power of Xbox. So I'm opening on my PC because I'm using my Xbox remote play. And the punch that they're talking about that people have issue with, they've had issue with since UFC 3, is when people slip to the outside while moving forward.
Yes.
And throw rear. And UFC 3, it was the lead hook that was really a problem. The rear hook kind of became a problem after time. But most of it is because when you use it to counter someone's jab, you kind of like skip their hand and you hit them while they're vulnerable, so you create this counter opportunity. Why am I slipping in the wrong direction? I'm mistiming my playback. Okay, really? All right, anyway. Oh, so I mistimed the playback that time and I threw it straight? That's crazy. All right, buddy, really?
Shout out to Q right there.
Right, okay, yeah. Well, that's part of it right there.
Oh, he slipped the wrong way.
So it looks like they teleport. They don't. It looks like they warp. They don't. What they do is they just don't realistically move across the map. So watch the feet, right?
So they slide.
So slipping while moving and throwing the punch, your character just kind of glides, right? I'm at the right range to land the punch. It just looks like I glide. It looks like I glide because the game suffers from this problem everywhere. There's just not enough animations. Like, there's just not enough animations. Like, there's not enough foot movement. Like, you don't realistically see when his feet move. So it just looks like he hunkers and then slides. Like, he
literally
spacewalks. And he shouldn't. He shouldn't hunker and then spacewalk. If there was more animations, you would see the movement and it wouldn't be so jarring. And not that it would fix the problem, but you would at least see the movement, right? Like, so right now what you see him moving towards you, jolt his head off to the side, and then just start sliding. Can you still do this? Is this still a thing? I'm gonna set the playback recording to jump out of the way whenever I get close. Okay, he's just gonna do it at large. All right, just keep jumping. Let me go to recording off. Bring him back to record, and we'll make him jump when I get into range. So when I get by right here, I want him to jump back. See, that's when you start to see the fighter start to slide kind of janky, right? Hold up. Record. Let me go back to record. I wish there was a way you can like do this recording stuff in an environment that didn't have so many like boundaries. Yeah, I kind of chased him. It's all part of IK, the game telling you that I should find him, so and like I said, because there's not enough animations, right? The game is telling me that I should.
He literally just slid forward and landed that hook on a man jumping backwards.
Hit him because he's in range and he's jumping to a range that I still should hit him in. So my character has to get there in the same amount of frames. There's not enough animations to show my feet move, my character accelerate naturally. So it just looks like he just warps. It just looks like he teleports.
Yeah.
Like he does some space age shit and just goes from one side of the ring to the other side of the ring. And it's because there's just not enough animations. Like if you...
And this same exact thing happens with strikes like the low kick feint into the cross. The lead low kick feint or any low kick, the lead kick to the body, the head, or the leg into a cross. If you feint it, the kick, you'll slide and then you'll throw the cross. It was the same thing in UFC 3 with the jab feint body cross. They was throwing it from so far away and everyone was abusing it because you would slide forward when you threw it. And again, he's explained that it's basically not enough animations.
if you saw him lean his head off to the side while moving forward, and then immediately take a quick stutter step and then throw that same hook, it would, you'd see the feet move, so it would look believable. It wouldn't just look like he just was there and he wasn't, because that's not happening. You just have to assume that the game is like tracking. You got to assume that he's being pulled on a tractor beam. Like, it just looks like he's doing some alien shit because you just don't have enough animations. The game largely suffers from this, and it's been like that since UFC 3. Now, when UFC 3 came out, it was acceptable because it was new. It had just came out. They had just added all this side lateral movement and all this other bull. So naturally, my brain, and pretty much probably most people's brain, just intuitively figured that everything that looks funky was going to be better by the next game.
Nope.
Well, UFC 4 came out. And UFC 5 came out. And it still looks the same. So it's because, once again, people aren't speaking to the right issue. They're not telling the devs the right thing. They're not saying what needs to be said. They're saying, hey, I have an issue. I don't like that they're teleporting when they throw this hook. I don't like it. It doesn't, it's broken. It's glitched. Like, you're not saying the right thing. What you should be saying is, I think that the fighter is not animating correctly. I think that his feet should be moving and he shouldn't just be sliding across the cage. If he is actually walking and taking these steps, I want to see these steps happen in real time. That way I at least understand why he covered that distance. So it doesn't just look like he just glid to me. I want to at least see him take those steps.
He says glid. He meant slide or glide at the same time.
and that's a way you speak to having things change in the game like this. You have to be able to understand it at its core and look at it for what it is, and then say what it's not doing. It's not happening realistically. And it's just because there's just not enough animations. Point and simple. Let's go back to the YouTube video.
Like exploiting that stuff. That's kind of one of my biggest things. The while moving forward, slip strikes, and like your fighter's literally sliding. But overall, I think the takedown buff is very good.
And I forgot to touch on this. So he's saying that people exploit it, right? So, which is true. People do exploit it. They do take advantage of the fact that this thing is on a sliding scale, kind of difficult to navigate, right? So your opponent sees you coming. Let's go to recording. Your opponent sees you coming, so he tries to jab. And what you're doing is you're slipping to the outside of the jab and throwing a hook. You're coming in with the intention of slipping the jab and throwing the hook. I'm gonna try the inside slip because for whatever reason my character's like doing. I'm also streaming this from my living room, so my character's not exactly doing what he's supposed to be doing. Like, my inputs aren't exactly correct, but that's not the point. Wham! Oh. Boom! Okay, cool. So I hit him with that. I went around his jab and boom. Went around his jab and boom. Hold up. Okay, he catches me with the jab now. So the point of the reason why it's hitting him so hard is because he's hurt. So this isn't really a good test. But man, in UFC 3, when they first incorporated the playback, it was like timed to the location. So if your character was here and you recorded him throwing let's say he threw a straight punch, right? When you play back, he would throw a straight punch only when you're at that range. But it seems like playback largely just does it just in general, period. So, okay. So the reason why people exploit it is because it opens you up to a vulnerability opportunity.
Yeah.
Not a counter window like in a different game, but it opens you up to a vulnerability opportunity. And that vulnerability opportunity comes because you can't tell that everything you do in this game opens you up to vulnerability.
Right.
Everything. So if you throw an overhand, or uppercut, or hook, or head kick, whatever you're doing, it opens you up to a vulnerability. So he's playback throwing a hook, throwing an overhand, right? I'm going to leg kick him when he throws the overhand. My vulnerability current on my HUD over here to the left of my character, which is hard to see and basically useless, but it says vulnerability, and it usually starts at a static 100. When there's increased vulnerability, it does more damage, right? He's gassed, he's tired, and he's over punching. Let's just let him get his stamina back, put him back on playback, and then I'm going to counter it with a leg kick. Holy smokes, he's getting gassed instantly now. Okay. To catch him in space while he's throwing the head kick, throwing the overhand is going to be tricky. Okay, really?
Yeah, that's gonna be hard.
Okay,
That's
really,
gonna be
buddy?
hard to do. It's gonna be really hard
Golly, man. Even gas, an overhand's faster than just a standard leg kick.
to do. A man gassed out throwing
Oh my
overhand
God.
fast,
The
and you can
playback
throw
tool,
a kick.
super useful, right?
Does that not sound pretty crazy to you? Somebody that is gassed out can wind up back here before you can throw a kick, and you're literally as fresh as a daisy. Interesting.
I'm waiting for it to end, and then it ends, and he doesn't do it again. Oh my God. It's the timing of the playback tool. Let me restart practice because he's obviously gassed and he's making this more difficult because he's gassed. Holy Spinoli, dude. Anyway, throw the overhand. Boom, he's throwing it. Let's go to playback. Let's actually turn it off. Let him get stamina back. Go to playback. He throws it overhand. He took 160, 100 and 100 even. All right, cool. Let's time it. Boom. Well, I hit it for 183% vulnerability increase. So that number starts at 100, right? And then it spikes up based on what action your opponent's doing when he's vulnerable. Oh my God, the fact that the overhand's faster than the leg kicks is... You understand why I don't play this game? Like, does it make sense now? Like, do you need to see more? So, okay, right there, you can't tell because, like I said, it's basically impossible to read the HUD. But he took 157%, 157.4% damage.
Yeah, I see it right here.
From that kick. Normally, that kick lands, that meter says at 100, stays 100 flat. But because I hit him while he was throwing it overhead, it did 147%, which is 47% higher than it was before, which is good, right? He's also throwing an overhand, and he's catching me trying to throw a head kick. Throw a leg kick. It's just crazy. The startup on the leg kick is so slow that you can time an overhand. And sure, I'm waiting for him to already be in the initiation of the overhand, but there's no excuse for why the overhand has better frames than a leg kick. I'm befuddled, bro. Anyway, so 166, right? So when people are doing that slip and hook, they're trying to catch around the fact that you're throwing a straight punch and catching you with a vulnerability spike because you're throwing an action. You're doing something. Like if I walk up to you right now and jab you, that meter says 100. Just flat, right? But if I were to put you in playback mode and I jab you as you throw that hook, as you throw that overhand, you are taking increased damage. Holy Spinoli. All right, cool. Even when you catch this, even when you do the jab counter, like the overhand counter, it's 172%. So it was a 72% vulnerability increase because you catch him in the frames of vulnerability from throwing the overhand. So the reason they're doing that and the reason they're exploiting it is because it's just straight up opening you up to the vulnerability. And the vulnerability is the only way to get any increased damage in this game, and it only occurs when you do actions. So it's just kind of par for the course, right?
I've noticed the frames immediately when I shot my first takedown. I seen.
We'll cut you off. He's talking about wrestling. I don't give a fart about wrestling. I have yet to grapple in this game in any situation where it actually mattered. I think I might have played career mode and might have been grappled once or twice in career mode. If I played this game online, and anytime I played this game online, it's all been standing back. So we're going to just go ahead and skip past that like it ain't nothing.
Seen old. The turning takedowns possibly.
Turning takedown, blah, blah, blah. I get it.
Also, I know and they were still able to deny it at a very high success rate, especially when they're sitting on no leg health ability.
Okay, so I do remember what he was talking about here. He's talking about the fact that leg health does not seem to affect takedowns. This video almost a goddamn two-parter, bro. Anyway, so man's continue.
The success rate. I would think so, because if you look at the top of the screen while you're playing, you see the Grapple Advantage meter. It's on one side or the other. I would think that, if it's higher on your side, that's the Grapple Advantage. Meaning when I go into a grappling position, I have the advantage as far as like a takedown. But again, I'm not sure if it works that way like it did in UFC 3. But I believe a patch or so ago they did do that. But the stamina, that was really the big one for me, was the stamina change.
Okay. So I do remember what he's talking about. At one point in UFC 3, they did add this like alternative mechanic, right? where if you were hit with a leg kick and you were in a leg health event, you couldn't deny a takedown. So takedowns are free. I don't agree that that's the way to fix this issue. I largely think that a lot of these issues stem from the fact that the game isn't honest. It isn't telling you what's actually happening. You can't see. You see the grapple advantage HUD. You see the takedown, spin wheel, whatever you want to call it, the little doodle, the doodle hickey, like on UFC 2 and 3, it used to have the little doodle hickey when you shot for a takedown.
Yeah.
But ever since they switched the grappling in UFC 4, you don't see that little spinny thing. You just see what the characters are doing on screen.
Yeah.
So you don't actually know the point at which your opponent denies or engages. Like, you don't see that stuff. So there's information you're missing. You're just missing information. So you can't tell if you're actually shooting faster, and you might not be, because once again, you don't see it anymore. When takedowns were tied to the HUD, that was tied to the clinch HUD, which was tied to the grapple HUD, when it was all just one thing, you always knew what was happening, because when they denied it, your little HUD would flash. You know, even if the animation didn't start when it was supposed to start. Like, look, man, part and parcel with all the grappling issues that I've ever had with this game is because what the game is showing you is not accurate to what's happening. The meter moving versus when the animation is moving versus to when the deny window has passed.
That is a big one right there. I feel like the grapple advantage meter, when you shoot the initial takedown, it goes back down, or it goes resets back to the middle when you actually shoot the takedown versus when you shot the takedown.
These things are not one-to-one. They're not tied together close enough. These systems are happening independent of themselves. You might see the character jolt your character forward when he's trying to transition to half guard. Like when somebody's on top of you in half guard and they're trying to pass a side control, their character will do this huge motion where he moves forward, and then he'll recess back and then do the, like, put his hand over your leg and cross over your leg. The whole jolting animation thing that happened originally was useless. You had no reason to see it. It shouldn't have existed. Actually, let me see. Can I do that animation real quick? Is that a thing? Anyway, so we're back. Can I shoot for a takedown? I have never grappled in this game, so I don't even begin to know where to start. All right, get off this position. No. What? Why is get up just not up? Why do I have to RB to get up? And why can't I do anything right here? What's going on? What is going on? What is this? Like,
you gotta have a grapple stamina advantage.
Why can't I do anything?
You have to have a stamina advantage to move.
Why did I have to press RB to open up a menu there? No, let's not go to side control immediately, bro. What the hell? Can I just go to half guard? Like, is that a thing?
No, it's not, brother.
All right, cool. I'm in stacked guard. Look at this, like, jumbled mess. Like, what is this crap? Like, who could possibly enjoy this? Like, what is this crap? No, like, put your head down, bro. I'm trying to show this. I'm trying to show something different, and this man is doing, like, everything in his power. What,
brother?
What happened to, like? Do you? What is this, bro? What is this? Hold on. Let me get between this guy's knees real quick. Hold on. Get back down, brother. Get back down, brother. What is this?
Go to Volk, brother.
Can I go to half guard on my own without, like, some tomfoolery?
No.
All right, jump in guard. Oh my god. What is this, bro? Like, what is this? Like, do you have to cancel your transitions now? Does the meter automatically fill without you actually having to hold it anymore?
Yeah.
You used to have to hold this meter.
Yeah, you don't have to hold it.
So now you have to block to cancel it. Like, what was not a mechanic is now a mechanic. Like, come on, bro. Like, what is this? Like, what is this? So I'm talking about, like, I canceled. Okay, so, like, armbar. This is what I was talking about, how the animations aren't honest. Go for the armbar. I canceled it. The character's going to go through the full range of motions before you're ever able to see what's happening again. And because they're not one-to-one, it's like, by the time my character puts his hand in his face, the window for you to deny is long gone.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, it's not tied together. So like when the transition finishes, when the HUD finishes, then the character moves. He's not moving in tandem with the HUD finishing. Even though by that point, by the midpoint of this animation, it's already decided that I'm getting the position. So there's no point for that animation to not be directly tied to the movement, to where by the time the movement ends, it ends all at the same time. It's a better example would be like move to mount. How when I move to mount, let's go back to side control. So the meter fills while my character's hand's on his hip, and we just swing to mount, right? It's not 1-to-1. It's delayed. It's like the whole meter fills, then we make the transition. It's not 1-to-1. You didn't see the opportunity, and there's worse positions. There's always been worse transitions that are more janky and more so speak to the issue that I'm talking about in this situation, where the animations aren't tied to the meters, so the denies aren't directly tied to it. It all kind of bubbles up and wraps into this like ugly puzzle of what the hell is going on with this grappling. It's bad. Like, it's just bad. Like, I don't know if you played Undisputed, or if you played Undisputed, it's just a better grappling system. When you put your knee on somebody's leg and you're holding the joystick to hold your knee on his leg, it's there. You do the whole, EA Skate pop shove it motion, and then your character, as soon as you start the pop shove it motion and it confirms, he just does the movement. It's like, when you put your hand on his leg, you're actually just holding. You're not like the transition hasn't even started yet. You start the transition at the end. I don't know. It's just goofy. There was a better system already in play. They could have just operated off that information that was already available to them, but they chose to do it the hard way, and it is what it is. But the animations aren't honest. The timings aren't honest. How fast the meter's moving isn't honest. I mean, I was against an opponent who wasn't doing anything. He wasn't gassing me. I wasn't using any stamina, so my movements were pretty slick. But on a character with lower stats,
I will say, to combat this, how I understand what he's saying, but how would this tie into making like the animation, like let's say the when you have grapple advantage and you do transition and it's like the really fast grapple advantage, right? How does that tie into it? How would that tie into that whole situation?
Those animations happen at the same speed. They don't slow, that I've ever noticed, to match the transition speed of the character, unless that's a new thing that might be happening. But historically, those animations aren't tied to the speed of the transition. So it's giving you, it's like eye voodoo. Like, you don't see it, in real time. So it just doesn't quite translate. So when you have grapple advantage, you just don't quite know how much advantage you have. So it looks like, your opponent, and then they block your transition. It just all becomes like this whole tangled web, because it's just a mess. And grappling's just a mess.
It was a super W. It was definitely a super W. I would like to see some stamina changes still when it comes to nah. I think I want to test more of the stamina. I don't want to see changes with the stamina. It's more so changes with the block. Now, people are going to crucify me or say what they want to say, and I mean, honestly, if I'm being completely honest, I don't think the block will ever change, and I'll tell you why. Obviously, I don't talk to Marshall no more, nothing like that, but Marshall complained about the block in DMs when he was talking about the block. So right off the strength, if I know Marshall feels that way, I know Romero feels that way, and they're like this with EA, like they're the game changers, I don't think block is ever going to be changed. If I'm being completely honest, don't expect block to be changed.
Okay, so I gotta pause here, because this is really, truthfully, when I was watching this video, this is one of the points where I had to stop and think. I was like, bro, there's just a lot of information that's just being missed here. And if I can do anything at all to help people with this game and help their understanding of this process, is to spill my guts. So part and parcel with block does this whole thing in this game where if you do a block break combo, it forces them to overcommit their block, and it becomes this like tit for tat mini game, which 80% of this game is mini games. I don't know, they can remove the little HUD from a mini game, but the submissions is mini games. Like, you got,
thank you,
to do an armbar, and once you did the first one, you broke the submission meter, and now you do another one and you get him out of there. That's a mini game, bro. If I put you in an armbar right now in real life, we lay down on the ground, I put you in an armbar, you're not gonna go, oh shit, you got that one. Next time, no, I might tell. It's just a mini game. So the block break,
it's literally a mini game. Like the UFC 5 feels like a mini game. Like seriously, it's a mini game. But it's a mini game built for new players that good players exploit.
It's just playing to the fact that people like mini games. And they added that to the game because I don't know if y'all remember, but in UFC 2, arms had health. Your right arm, your left arm, they both had health. Somebody jabbed and hooked your arm for the length of the fight. They can break that meter down the same way they break your head meter down. It took a long time to break it down. It took a lot of strikes. But they can break that arm down. Once they broke it down, you just permanently, like, were just vulnerable. Like, you just couldn't, some strikes you couldn't block. Some strikes the bleed through just hurt the same. So what you do is, in that game, is you jab a lot. You force your opponent to take a lot of damage on their arms throughout the fight because people they would just perma block. They would just turtle because there wasn't no bleed through until your arm health was low. So they would just perma block. They would turtle, and people hated turtling so bad. People used to cry about the turtling. Even though in UFC 2 you can mix somebody up, you can go jab to the head, inside leg kick. The inside leg kick would like cause a hit reaction that they couldn't block in, and then straight punch to the face, and inside leg kick again, and reset the combo like Mortal Kombat. Even though you could do all that, people still would just turtle. They would turtle, and they would just perfect block. They would fuzzy guard. They block head, block low, block head, block low. They would just turtle and run around and turtle. You couldn't do anything about it. You can chase them all you wanted. If a player was good at turtling, you couldn't do shit about it. So the arm health was good because they would turtle and turtle and turtle and turtle, and eventually they would start taking damage to their arms and then before you knew it, they just couldn't block at all.
Right.
The character just wouldn't lift his arms. His arms would just stay at his waist, and you could spin and heel kick, head kick, roundhouse, whatever you wanted to do to him. They were just wide open. They couldn't do anything to defend themselves. Obviously, that's not a good system either because it's too predictable. By the same token as the jab, straight to the hand, jab
better
to the hand,
than what we got though.
On the rear side because now he's overcommitted to the front. That's a mini game, dog. It's a mini game. It's all it is. So, in UFC 2, there was arm health. They got rid of it. UFC 3, they brought back the perfect block. You couldn't do anything about it. If it was up, it was up. If it wasn't, it wasn't. Couldn't do anything about it. Then you can catch kicks in UFC 3. You can catch the body kick. You know, it became a whole thing. Turtling was looking like it was about to be a thing. So the game came out, game changers, and everybody started complaining. So they added this committal block thing. You know, they kind of like repurposed because Justin Gaethje came out. When Justin Gaethje came out, he had a second block. He had a block that nobody else had. He had a block where he could put his hands in the front of his face and block off everything and throw leg kicks. You probably don't remember. But when he came out, they gave him a special block. Then like an update or two after he came out, they added that committal mechanic where it's a mechanic but it's a mini game. Let's be real. Like it added the block break count. It was the decision people used to hate. So what they used to cry about all the time was they would cry about the wonder combo, the miracle combo, the perfect combo, the jab, straight jab, head kick because you couldn't do anything about it. So people would start crying about that. So they added that committal mechanic and it just got worse because of that committal mechanic. So the block break combos became a thing, became the meta. I mean, it's the meta because it's better than the alternative, right? The alternative was just having somebody turtle infinitely and you never being able to get to them. Because, once again, like, it all harkens back to, like, everything in the game just being, like, hodgepodge. If vulnerability was more of an issue, somebody blocking high, you hit them with a low kick, they take more damage, then bada bing, bada bam, you put your hands up, I kick you in your legs, it hurts real bad. You put your hands by your body, I kick you in the head, it hurts real bad. You know, if that vulnerability check act as a blocking counterpart, then the need for the block break wouldn't have been a thing so much because it would have been a way to mix up the block or just increase the vulnerability. But I digress. The block break mechanic was added to fix the fact that people were just turtling and just being able to turtle through everything. And because the arm health stat had been removed going from UFC 2 to UFC 3, that thing just no longer existed, which I felt was fine. When you finish somebody because their arm health was low, it was somewhere in the third round after you grinded them to the ground. You know, it wasn't like you just walked out round one, blasted their arms away, and it just went to work for the rest of the fight. It wasn't like that. It took a lot of work to get them there, but people didn't like it because they'd be like, I just took a spinning heel kick. I couldn't block. Yeah, you also took 80 spinning heel kicks to the same hand before that, but that's the context that was being missed. So they did the whole block break mechanic thing, and people hate it, and they've hated it since the day it came out because people were able to predict it because it's a mini game. It's never going to get fixed as long as people think that it's like viable. And it's viable because it works. And if you play against it and you just try to fight your way through avoiding it, you're just largely making the game more difficult for yourself because the game is what it is. Do I?
That's me. Yeah. That sums me up. That puts you right in that box. Exactly what he's talking about. I don't block break. So people that do fight on the back foot, and this is no excuse for myself, but I'm just explaining it. I don't block break people. So people that do fight on the back foot, it's very hard for me to break them down and actually land strikes on them because the game was built, the block breaking mechanic was built for people that turtle. And because I don't block break their block and they're turtling, now I'm having to pick my shots. On top of that, I feel like the body strikes are very slow. It's very hard to cut people off in the octagon. And on top of that, if I do throw a body shot, I get hit with an uppercut. I just took crazy damage, and I could possibly be rocked. So it's like I take a lot of risk even doing that. And then on top of that, okay, you want to shoot a takedown? Yeah, buddy. I'm gonna hold these 2 triggers. I'm gonna block every body shot. I'm gonna block every low kick. I'm gonna block every takedown you initiate by just holding down the low block.
Agree that it should be that way? No. But if it's there, somebody's gonna use it. You can be on a horse all you want. It's gonna be there until someone comes up with something better or proposes something better or creates a problem that's so large that they have to get rid of it. And you would think that the block break wonder combos, the miracle combo would just be enough to make the developers go, this isn't working, let's fix it, let's do something different. It's never gonna be enough. So come up with a proposal. And my proposal is simple. Go back to the arm health. Even if you don't go back to the arm health. Okay, let's throw the card out with the horse, right? Boom, get rid of the arm health. But let's get rid of the overcommittal mechanic, right? There is a block stat, right?
Yes.
There's a block meter, right? There's bleed through damage, right?
Yes.
Why don't you make the block stat just work, let the block work the way it works. It mitigates the damage coming through, but as the block lowers, as the block stat gets lower down the meter, make the bleed through damage intensify. So if somebody were to combo your hands and hit you with a shot on the block as you're trying to avoid them, it's just piling up damage. Because MMA is a game where you really can't block that much. Like in real life with the small gloves, you really ain't blocking a whole lot. It's the 100%. Worst possible defense. 100%. And in order to fix one, you have to fix the other. So if blocking became this thing where you don't want to have to do it, like look at Smash Brothers, right? If you hold the block in Smash Brothers for so long, it just breaks.
Yeah.
It just leaves you wide open. Maybe make the block work like that in this game. Maybe give people a reason to use their other defensive tools instead of just holding their block. Sure, you can make that block meter fill and refill faster than it currently does. That way, if somebody were to jab, straight, rear hook, but you get away from the 4th hook, you get away from the hook, like say you slip the hook. Right now, that meter wouldn't fill back up. So they throw another hook, and the next hook would hit you on the block, and boom, they just hit you with a whole bunch of bleed through. But if you're going to go to just a pure bleed through, like a pure, just be able to blast the block is there, but it's just you can blast through it. Maybe make it refill faster. Maybe anytime somebody misses a strike, it goes back to full. If they're comboing it, you slip one strike, it goes back to full. They have to combo it again, it goes back to full. Just make it more seamless. That way, it's going back to full more often, so the big bleed through doesn't happen. But also open it up to opportunities where blocking is just not enough. Like there's some situations where the block should just not be enough. Some things should hit the block harder and hard enough to almost hit past them sometimes.
100%.
Like, when Dustin Poirier got head kicked by Justin Gaethje, he did kind of block it.
He still got hit.
It didn't matter, but he did block it. And when Israel Adesanya got head kicked by Justin Gaethje, not Justin Gaethje, by Kelvin Gastelum, he kind of tried to avoid it. He kind of got his hands up. He kind of got away, but it still touched him and still made him queasy. Some things, just even if you block them, some things is just not enough. Sometimes it's just not enough. Dustin had his hand up. He's not the first guy to get KO'd through his block. It's not impossible in MMA. It happens a lot.
Yeah.
So maybe get rid of the block break, overcommittal, and go to some system like that, some Smash Bros type system where the block is just kind of there and it's mitigating the damage, but as it gets taxed, the bleed through just increases to the point where the bleed through is basically like full damage. Like it's just full damage at some point. So like when the block is low, you just take the full brunt of it. But like that's just speaking to the fact that you're gonna talk about it, most people want to hear you say something. You shouldn't have to come up with ideas. Most of us aren't game developers. Most of us aren't accredited game designers. Most of us don't even have a background in MMA. Most of the people who play the game just take this information as it is. Most people who play the game haven't ever taken a head kick. You just use that information as you will. You know what I'm saying? So you shouldn't have to come up with ideas, but
Thank you.
sometimes you do. I don't know.
As a creator, I don't feel I have to come up with ideas. I don't feel like I need. Oh, I'm not credible because I don't actually do it. Like,
If you're gonna be critical, sometimes you have to offer something up.
and that's the thing. That what he just said is 100% true. If you are going to be critical, right? If you're going to be critical of something, for sure, you like come with your rebuttal. How do you fix it? And I literally do that. I literally do that.
You shouldn't have to. You should be able to just say, "I don't like this. This sucks." And someone smarter should be able to parse that information and use it to come up with a better solution. And you would think that would be the developers, but that hasn't happened yet. So because that isn't happening, somebody got to say the right shit in order to get stuff to happen, right? So until we get to a world where you say, "Hey, Dev, I don't like this," and they go, "I know why you don't like it. You don't like it because it's doing this," and you go, "You know what? Exactly." That hadn't happened yet. So until that starts happening, you just gotta take it at face value. I digress.
But I think the jab to the block is just way too strong. In my honest opinion, I think the block should be changed completely. I don't think the block should have a meter. I think it's easily manipulated. In my honest opinion, I think blocking should be based on timing. Like if you're from blocking a strike, because there are certain fighters like Sean O'Malley, right? Sean O'Malley versus Cheeto Vera is a perfect example. Holding your hands up and shelling up isn't going to block everything. I don't expect to block everything. But if I do
I'm sitting here
time
talking.
my block correctly, like obviously there isn't like a 6-axis block, but if I do time my block, meaning I bring my hands up at a great time, I should be able to block the shot. I think that would be something better instead of if you're just sitting there holding block, right? Just sitting there. I think that's where shots can basically either land more or bleed. I honestly think bleed through damage could definitely be higher, but I just
See? Just saying the thing that I'm saying as well, but just saying it different. Say the same thing. Like, okay, Smash Brothers has the same situation he's talking about. When you perfect block in Smash Brothers, it just like it acts like a parry. It just kind of like deletes the strike, gives you an open opportunity to do whatever you want to do. It just completely like blasts past it. Like when you perfect block, you time it correctly to the strike. I mean, if you want to get rid of the changing of the committal block, and you go to a system where bleed through and block are tied together, you can do it like Smash Brothers, where just holding the block exhausts the block, so it's no longer as good. But tap and release allows the block to just keep regenerating back to full. Say the block regenerates back to full at a fast enough rate to where its strikes have to be compounded to take the block away from you. Like, as long as they're jabbing, you releasing, you block it, release, block, release. Your block just keeps refilling every time you release. That way you can it's not so easily manipulated, like he said. It's not so gamey, because you would have to actively be doing something to refresh it. Like that's how it works in Smash. Like if you just tap the block, the perfect block and strike, as opposed to just stand there and block 3 or 4, they're just gonna run your block and it's gonna beat down that meter. And then when you go to open the block up again, it hasn't regenerated fully yet, so it's still small, and it does that until it eventually cracks. And when it shield crack you because you've been holding your shield too long. There are ways to do this. The point that he's making, the point that I'm making, it's just there are different ways that aren't so mechanic-y, that aren't so cheesable, aren't so easily recreated. Like Anderson Silva kicking Vitor Belfort in the face was a one-time occurrence. Like it's only happened in the sport a few times where someone makes a hard read on the position of your head and gets you to bite on enough fakes to where they throw a kick down the middle and you just think it's something else and it hits you right on the chin and sends you right into the shadow realm. It's a one-time event. It's not like every time Anderson head fakes to the left, he then throws a rear kick and it just hits you in the chin. That's essentially how this game and most games work, is that they just become so repetitious that it's easy to recreate the scenarios that cause the reaction. I mean, when I used to play NBA Live, let's say 2K, I used to play NBA Live as a kid, there was always this animation that you can do with a dribble, where if you did a certain dribble animation, the AI would always do the same counter. And if you countered it with the same move, you always caused them to do an ankle break. It's gamey. Sure, it feels good when you could just make something happen in an instance that avoids the problem, but because it's fighting, because it's intangible, because it's fluid, it just can't be that. It can't be that static. And but there's some things that should be that static. I don't know. It's a dichotomous problem. Like, this game is a problem at every level. So you have to just address these problems individually, and then look at the holistic view of the game, and just kind of work backwards in some respects. But yeah, like, he's just saying similar things to what I said about the block. It just can't be this whole overcommittal thing.
Think making the committing, making them do this or making them do this to block wide or block all the straight strikes. I think that's something that's just easily manipulated. It's something that definitely has ran its course. And I'm not asking for the block to be like super strong, super godlike. I'm just asking for people their game plan not to basically be walk forward, throw punches at your block, and able to win matches. And then on top of that, they use the strongest fighters. But overall, the patch, bro, it was a W patch. I mean, they added 9 new fighters.
W patch is giving them credit where it's due. They added fighters. I'm a little bit more. I'm gonna just leave it as it is. They added fighters. They're doing what y'all want to do.
I knew what he was gonna say. I knew what he was gonna say.
Hey, look. Sure.
And the fighters, I'll be completely honest, the fighters actually has some really good character models as far as the facial features, as far as the hair on Jeff Neal.
They look okay.
It was definitely a W. I mean, Umar Nurmagomedov looks clean. I can't complain there. But if I was to give this patch a rate out of 10, I would give this patch an honest like 7. I mean, I give it a like a 6.5. 6.5.
I mean, there's a lot of content in the patch, right? Even the stuff that he's not mentioning, there's a lot of content in the patch. There's a lot of like adjustments to frames on this, adjustments to frames on that. There's some shit in the patch that when I read it, I'm just like, there's no plausible way that this should be a thing. Like, there's no way. Like, the lead teep kick being faster than the rear teep kick moving forward. Now, the advancing lead teep is quicker than the advancing rear teep. Come on, bro. That's befuddling. Oh my god, I think it disconnected me from Cloud again. My forward they're just way too good in the first place. They cover too much distance. They hit too hard. They redirect if you crouch. So if you try to duck, they redirect, hit you right in the face. And they hit you harder than any uppercut will ever hit you. They hit you like a freight train moving backwards. Like, they hit you incredibly hard. So, I have issue with the teep kicks in the first place just because of the nature of the beast. All right, let me see. Can you actually tell that they're faster? Oh, he don't have both teeps. Well, that's tricky. Let me go to recording. Let me see if this fool's got both teeps. What are you doing, dude? Why are you twerking? Get off the fence, bro. My guy turned into a stripper. Like, what is this?
Yeah, you can kind of see.
I mean, they feel basically what and what, which
kind of look the same.
Kind of sus. I feel like it's a lot easier to just lift your rear leg, take a half step forward and kick, than it is to lift both legs. Hold up. Hey, chill. Chill recording. All right. Okay, let's try to the body. Okay, decent. Yeah, I mean, they feel more like connected to each other. So I mean, maybe it's not that big of a difference. Maybe it's not that bad of a change. I mean, I don't feel like the lead kick and rear kick should be that far off from each other in frames as far as speed goes, because in reality, like, there are probably minuscule differences between the two. But overall, there's some stuff in the patch that he didn't touch on that I just would have to look into and further investigate, like I just did with that, to see if it really creates a problem or if it feels better. And in this case, them being closely related in frames feels good.
5. I would like to see more damage on counters. I think the damage on counters right now is just not enough, especially when you land on people that are moving their head. I think those people are really baby.
Part of it is vulnerability, like I was talking about in the first half of the video. Part of it is just vulnerability. Part of it is just knowing when to time it. Part of it is just knowing it's not counters. Like, it's not really counters. It's vulnerability windows. Part of it is just knowing what vulnerability windows are where and where to hit them and where you get the most damage. It's something you can find in practice mode. You go to practice mode, you train against the scenario that you're seeing, You throw the strike that's to the appropriate side with the appropriate speed, and you land.
I remember I used to do this so much in UFC 3. If I had a problem with somebody with the stuff that they did with striking, I would always go back into practice mode and have the AI replicate it. But I don't even do that no more because it's just not even worth the energy no more.
You see the damage, right? So it's just right there in front of you. Like when I hit with that hook in one of those little preliminary tests, and my vulnerability spike went up from what it was 100 to 160, which is 60% higher than it was before. So the damage might be there as long as you're landing the right counter for the right scenario. Is it too easy to block coming out of strikes? You got dang right it is. You can throw a strike that misses and block halfway through the animation. That's part of the reason why countering feels so trash. Also, vulnerability is only tied to the actions. It's not tied to just every animation. So if you hit a guy with a hook when he's moving forward with a punch, and the first punch hits him, even if you throw a body shot after that, the body shot doesn't have any additional vulnerability unless he does something different, like another action happens. So the body shot becomes just kind of, it just goes back to static default, whatever the damage is, plus whatever applied bonuses are being applied just statically, right? It's not increased. It's not heightened because of the moment. It's not like you can't hit somebody with a twofer. Like, even if somebody ran at you and you countered his hook, he tried to do a slipping hook, you counter him with the lead hook, and you hit him with the hook, and the straight punch hit right after. The hook got a vulnerability boost. The straight punch did not. The straight punch just got straight damage, even though because you hit him while he was moving, you were already in a boosted damage. That took a lot more damage, so the head meter was already kind of lower, and then the straight punch hit him on the meter, and the stamina meter is lower. He takes a little bit of increased damage because of how stamina is tied to striking, but he doesn't actually take. It's not like you hit that vulnerability window twice. You hit it once. When you hit him, that was once. Even if you tap, as soon as he came in, you just tap. One of those hit the vulnerability window, the weak one. Okay, what I'm saying? Like somebody throw a head kick, you slip that thing, and you jab straight. You know what I'm talking about? The jab hit the vulnerability window.
I've seen this before.
Not so.
That's
just
not
do
happening.
That. Just take that for what it was. Hold up. What was he talking at?
I would think that if it's higher on your side, that's the grapple advantage. See, there isn't like
skipped in the video,
really good character models as far as the damage on counters right now is just not. We say this patch was a great step in the right direction for UFC 5, if I'm being completely honest. But another thing, I want to see an overhaul of this whole rank system. I think. Okay,
I'm gonna leave my video where it's at. What he says in this video essentially is you take a huge rank loss, you lose a lot of points, you win, you barely get any. That's been a problem since every time they've ever had a rank system. That's been a complaint that's come up. You get rewarded for winning but barely, and then when you lose, it's the crushing defeat. That's always gonna be bullshit. It's always gonna be something that could easily be addressed. How much points you lose in ranked matches shouldn't decentivize you from playing ranked, because what happens is if you can get to the highest spot on the rank list that you want to get, you go up 15 wins and you take no losses, and they put you in the top 100. Most players aren't going to want to play ranked past that because they've already reached the pinnacle. They'll play a couple matches to keep there, to maintain it, but they don't want to risk losing their spot. People who actually care about the leaderboards, because they're going to take such drastic losses on the back end. People don't want to take those opportunities to get barely any points. So he's speaking to the fact that rank needs some sort of overhaul. It doesn't necessarily need an entire overhaul. It just needs a repurposing of those rank points to incentivize players for continual play. But ranked in general, to me, makes no sense. I can care less about a leaderboard. Leaderboard don't mean nothing to me, never has. It doesn't. They don't pay my bills. It don't give me extra perks. None of that. It might make your YouTube channel look a little bit glossier. When I was in the top 100 on UFC 1 or UFC 2, whenever, I think it was in the top 100 UFC 3, I got invited to a UFC top 100 group, and I mean that shit don't mean nothing to me. Like, me personally, that don't mean a thing to me, because it don't do nothing for me. Like, if it paid my bills, if it made my YouTube videos pop a little bit better, but it doesn't. It gives people a leg to stand on when somebody tries to talk down on their credibility. But I always feel like anybody who's got to talk about your credibility ain't got nothing to talk about in the first place. They're watching your video, so credible or not, they're watching you. So it's like it's too late to care at that point. Okay, I'm not the best player in the world. Doesn't matter. Am I entertaining? Are you watching this video? Did you come here? Are you still here? That's crazy. You're commenting? Insane. I digress. But the way ranked is currently, I can see why a ranked player wouldn't play past getting to the leaderboard. There's no reason to. There's no reason to take that loss and lose your spot. Maybe make the rank points. Maybe tip it in the other direction. Losing when you're high ranked, losing a fight doesn't hit you hard, but winning a fight boosts you more. Gives people a reason to chase each other more. Gives them a reason to fight more often, to chase each other more. Because I mean, put it like this: if you're number 1 on the leaderboard, why would you fight again?
No point.
You take a loss, you drop to number 20th. You take another loss,
No
you drop
point.
to not in the top 100 anymore. It's like you're not gonna do that. Like you're not gonna take a chance. For the same reason fighters don't want to fight the guy that's right under them in the ranks in real life. For the same reason why the rank leaderboard is what it is. Maybe reverse that. Reverse that. Make it not hurt so bad to lose. Make it feel good when you beat somebody who's higher than you in position. Give you more benefit to beating that person that's in a higher position than you. Just take their spot. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. In my brain, that's the thing that makes sense. But hey.
UFC 5 has one of the worst rank system of what I would when lose.
Yeah, I think that was his last point.
Oh,
we're not going to follow him off to the gameplay. I'm just going to leave it at that. I feel like I talked long enough. It's probably an hour-long video to talk about 7 minutes of his talking. It's borderline yapping territory, but this stuff, it's just, man, like, there's just a lot of information that just, it's available. It's right there at your fingertips, but most people just don't seek the knowledge. It's right there. What you need to know is right in front of you. You just have to know where it is. You just have to find it. And it's all there. Like, it's all there. Understanding how the game works is there. There's tons of presentations of the developers explaining their process and then how they created things and why things work the way they work. So if you need to know why this is what it is, and then there's information the game just provides you, just right there in front of you. When you open up the pause menu and you see the vulnerability increase and all that stuff, it's just right there. So using that tool as a resource will give you a lot more context and a lot more clarity into those scenarios. But then the stuff that's missing, I talked about that earlier, the stuff that's missing, the stuff you can't see, the stamina banks, the transition denial windows, the timing of the transition animations, the animations not matching the movement, the directional change of the animations being like incomprehensible, like that stuff that's just not there. All you got to do is know how to speak to it. Say, hey, look, developer, I don't like this in this game because this thing doesn't make sense for this reason. You're speaking their language at that point. Now they can look at your video and go, maybe you're right. Maybe that does need adjustment. It's just knowing how to talk. Just knowing how to talk. But I'm out, man. I'm out. I mean, I didn't say it.
Yeah, all right, man. Hey, shout out to him, man. If y'all ain't subscribed to him, I'm gonna put the link to his YouTube in the description. If you made it this far into the video and you watched a whole hour worth of this video, which, you know, had a lot of good info in it, I definitely think if EA watches this, if EA even watches my videos, I know me and EA, we nuck if you buck energy. Well, that's how it feels. Then I mean, it is what it is, but this video definitely has some pretty good points. And if you guys agree with it, let me know in the comment section. If you disagree, let me know in the comment section, man. I'm not one to just only listen to what I want to hear or what pertains to help my what I have to say about the game, but I'm all ears, man. But I appreciate you guys for watching the video, even pulling up, even clicking on it, hitting the like button, spending time out of your life to watch some of my content. But hey, shout out to Legend. I'm gonna just call him Legend. I don't want to say his first name or whatever. And shout out to you guys for watching. All right, y'all stay up, stay blessed, keep moving forward. I'm out, man.